Ask any Met fan the most memorable of Mike Piazza's home runs, and you'll hear different answers, simply because there were so many. Yet there is one that stands above the rest, not only for Mets fans, but for the people of New York.
Lopez wants it away.
And it's in deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
It's so hard to put into words the amount of emotion and the amount of just every facet of feelings that really went through that week. And still, when you look back, you get angry, you get frustrated, you see a lot of you feel a lot of the negative, but I think the positive was that you saw like how close people came together, and personally, I was just trying to hold it together emotionally. I mean, it was such a tough time, and the minute the bagpipes came out on the field, I just started to lose it, and I was just like, I just kept thinking to myself, you got to keep it together here, because people are obviously watching, and it's just important to go out and give a good effort. And so I think when I kind of surrendered to it, I was able to kind of relax and at least play, and it was a good ball game, and just was fortunate to be able to give us a lift. And people put so much significance on that home run, which is an honor for me. I'm like thinking, man, I was just trying to, I was just glad I got through the night because it was so tough.
His story has often been told. A late-round draft pick chosen largely as a favor to his godfather Tommy Lasorda, Piazza rose from obscurity to become one of the game's greatest players, one who surely is headed for the Hall of Fame. What a long, sweet ride it has been.
I'd sincerely like to thank the fans of New York for their love and support and making me a part of your family, and you'll always be a part of me, and I'd like to thank you for bringing out the best in me. And I feel like I always have a home here, and I'll always be in touch. And you've been great. You support the team through thick and thin, and I know you'll keep doing that. And so that's it.
Farewells, by their nature, are sad affairs, but today also is a celebration. Mike Piazza put smiles on a lot of people's faces. When we come back, we'll hear from some players, and most poignantly from the fans about Mike. This portion of Geico Mets on Deck is brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color. More than a hair color, it's the Rejuvenator. Targets only the gray for a natural look. And by Hip Health Plan. Now that's hip. A cloudless day here at Shea Stadium. All right, let's roll the clock back. A rain delay at Yankee Stadium, June 11, 2000. And who was that? Well, it's Robin Ventura doing a brilliant Mike Piazza imitation. The fans loved it. Every mannerism was perfect. And Ventura, one of the good guys in the game, certainly got a rise out of his teammates. John Franco, manager. This is the best, that look. And even Mike Piazza had a laugh. And finally, the dash around the tarp and the head first slide. And Robin Ventura paying a tribute to Mike Piazza and getting the applause for that. And there's Mike Piazza now. He's just made his way out of the clubhouse to the dugout, and surely will receive a huge ovation from the fans here when he steps out onto the field. In all likelihood, his final day in a New York Mets uniform. And Mike now steps out onto the field. Tip of the helmet to the crowd, a wave, and I'm sure that the ovation and the acknowledgement will be repeated a number of times today. All right, so Mike Piazza is wrapping things up. When Tom Glavine was a member of the Atlanta Braves and the Mets acquired Mike Piazza, Glavine said everyone, particularly in Atlanta, took notice.
When you had a guy like Mike Piazza, you take notice of it. Everybody takes notice of it, you know, and I think that at the time when they got Mike, it was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, these guys are serious, or they're serious about making a run, whatever. You know, and it's not often you can acquire a player of that caliber to fit in the middle of your lineup. And like I say, when you do, everybody takes notice of it.
As a younger player, being able to hang around him, to see the way he carries himself, see the way he handles himself, the way he continues to work, the desire that he still has for the game. It's great for a young player to have him help me out with the mental side of the game as well as the physical, to have him to come up and put his arm around me and talk hitting, to talk the mental approach of hitting. It's something that, you know, be fun to tell my grandkids one day.
I think they'll miss, you know, which is what we see pretty much every night at our stadium, is the greatest clutch hits, and probably, in my opinion, they rank right up there with the best in Mets history. You know, he always came through in the clutch, it seemed like, and I mean, that's, in this game, that's what people always remember. I mean, you can have a great year, and, you know, you can end up with 45 homers and 150 ribbies, but if you go to your runs, you know, runners in scoring position with 2 outs, and runners in scoring position with 1 out, late inning type games, I bet if you look back on his, I bet you see some crazy numbers. And I think that's what the fans miss, because that's what this game is about. What you do in the clutch, what you do when the game is on the line. Most times, you know, teams won't let superstars beat them, and he always found a way.
A charismatic player, Mike Piazza, has had a special relationship with the fans. They hold him in warm regard. Happy to have seen him played, but now, as the final days of his career with the Mets come to an end, sad to see him go.
A few years ago, the Mets were down about 8 runs in the 9th inning, and they had an 8-run rally, and they needed another run to win the game, and Mike's home run did it. And that's the one I remember the most.
The one that sticks in my mind is the one after 9/11. It was really uplifting for the whole city and for me personally.
Since I was a big Johnny Bench fan, I would probably say him breaking Johnny's record and hitting number 390 on Italian Day this year was probably the biggest moment I've ever been to, because I got one hero breaking another hero's record, and you don't get to see that very often.
I'm going to have to say the September 21st home run against the Braves, to beat the Braves right after September 11th, really lifted New York and lifted me and everybody who was watching with me. And we're going to miss Mike if he's not here, but he's had a great time with us, and we wish him well wherever he goes.
Everything he did to me, it was great. And I would like to see him retire as a Met, not to go anywhere, to be a Met all the way. That number should be retired. I don't want to see him go.
Well, there will be some tears, no question about it, but today is about a celebration, about a terrific time spent with the New York Mets, and we will celebrate those 7+ years throughout the afternoon on FSN New York. That'll do it for the final edition of Geico Mets on Deck. The game is next. This afternoon, the New York Mets wrap up the 2005 campaign as they take on the Colorado Rockies. Mets baseball on FSN New York is presented by Subway on a brilliant afternoon for baseball. The Mets look to end the season with the victory. And for Mike Piazza, it is in all likelihood his final game in a New York Mets uniform. That action taken just a short while ago as Mike made his way into the clubhouse following a chapel service here at Shea that honored the police officers who lost their lives at 9/11. Mike participated in that, and we welcome you to Mets baseball here on FSN New York. And I guess that moment, Mike leaving the chapel service, kind of epitomized Mike Piazza's time here in New York. He took this city to heart, and this city took Mike Piazza to heart. Many people have come out today, many of them with signs or banners asking for one more year or simply paying tribute to what Mike Piazza has meant in his 7+ seasons in a New York Mets uniform. But in all likelihood will come to an end today. His contract is up and it appears he is headed elsewhere. But no matter where he goes, what transpires from here on in, for Mike Piazza, his time in New York with this organization, with these fans, has been special.
The stage that is playing here is something very unique, and it'll always be a part of me. Like this is me, and these people have made me a part of their family, and you know, it's something that has shaped me, and will something I'll carry, you know, to the rest of my days. And it'll always be interesting to come back and look back and say, man, you know, this was just a, you know, I hope it's. I'm trying to drink it all in right now, which is tough, but you know, in a short amount of time. But you know, obviously it's something I just can't forget.
So it is a special day indeed here at Shea Stadium. Mike Piazza in the starting lineup, surely to be greeted by standing ovations every time he steps out onto Shea Stadium's turf. We'll take a short time out. When we come back, Ted Robinson and Fran Healy will share their thoughts about Mike Piazza and what he's meant to this team. We'll do that all day long, but in particular, those guys will be up next here on FSN New York.
New York Mets baseball on FSN New York is presented by Subway. Introducing the New York Hot Pastrami Sandwich from Subway restaurants. For a limited time only. Subway. Eat fresh.
One more walk down the tunnel from the Met clubhouse to the home dugout at Shea. It does have the feel of the last waltz today for Mike Piazza. If Robbie Robertson comes out and plays a little guitar, it will just be fitting, won't it? But it has that sense today. It is Fan Appreciation Day on the schedule at Shea Stadium, but in reality, it's Mike Piazza Appreciation Day. A player who's meant so much, without question, I think, alongside Tom Seaver, the most significant player in the history of this franchise.
Yeah, without a doubt, Ted. 8 years ago, when Mike Piazza joined the New York Mets, he brought his star to New York, and boy, oh boy, did it shine. Look at those numbers he put up throughout. Now, that's his career numbers right there. 12-time All-Star, 10 times 90 RBI seasons. Keep in mind, most of those games were behind the plate. So Mike Piazza with the New York Mets, look at those numbers. And I agree with you, Ted, with Tom Seaver. He stands right with Seaver as probably the most important Met in the history of the franchise.
Well, it's been a love fest for Mike for the last couple of weeks here at Shea, and I had a chance to visit with him maybe 40-45 minutes before the game today, and he was very much at peace. I think the emotions, and there are conflicting emotions, no question. It's very difficult to accept that it may be the end when you hear the love and the appreciation that Met fans have showered on him in recent weeks, but the pragmatic side of Mike understands what this day means as he dons the catcher's gear one last time at Shea.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
And there's the record, Mike Piazza, the greatest home run hitting catcher in the history of the game.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Who could have ever imagined during the 90s that a young man who grew up in the Dodger family, was signed and developed as a Dodger, would someday say it was the time of his life as a Met. It never could have been dreamt. You know what I think the greatest wallpaper shot would be? We should just get a shot of all the different looks of Mike Piazza. All the different hairstyles, facial hair, and all of that in a Met uniform. And really, I think, to me, the overriding, he runs the risk today of getting maudlin, and I think it really should be a celebratory day for what Mike Piazza has meant for this franchise. He's going to play. He's basically decided he's going to play someplace if somebody will give him a uniform next year. And so this is not the end for him. It may be the end of this chapter in his career, and a great chapter it's been for both him and for Met fans.
Oh, absolutely. And the Mets appreciate everything that Mike Piazza has done. And he'll go down right now as the best hitting catcher in the history of baseball. One of the reasons is he played in 2 ballparks, his home ballparks with pitchers' ballparks. And Mike Piazza made him hitter's haven with the way he could hit the ball. He had long home runs. One that's going to stand out in my mind is first game back here at Shea Stadium following the tragedy of 9/11 when Mike Piazza just lit up the New York skies with a long home run.
And I'll tell you what, the other thing about Mike, that we've talked about this a lot this last month, is the peace that he has. And you heard Matty reference, Mike went to Mass this morning. He's a devout Catholic and always has Mass said, a Catholic Mass said at Shea on Sundays or holy days. And this morning, a special Mass that honored the police officers from this district in Queens that fell on September 11. And that's all Mike wanted to talk about before the game today, how moving that Mass was for him this morning.
And Mike Piazza, you know, we talked about him as a ball player. Off the field, he's always handled himself with class. And I'll tell you what, as somebody interviewed him quite a bit, he's a terrific interviewer, one of the best in all the sports. Thoughtful, and when he gives you an answer, he means it.
All right, so we are ready to go with Victor Zambrano on the mound for the Mets on this final day. Corey Sullivan leading off from Colorado.
See the numbers for Victor Zambrano this season.
And the Mets, of course, today trying to sweep this 4-game series, which would give them 84 wins to finish the year, and they would be the 5th winningest team in the National League this year. And if you can't be in the playoffs, that's a good consolation prize.
Consolation prizes are good, and as you know, they give the best prize, championship.
And a ground ball here hit by Sullivan, and there's 1 away. So on this final day, Clint Hurdle in Colorado puts his front liners out there with Barmes, Helt, Holiday, and Atkins. Holiday having a good finish to the season. Hoff, Gonzalez, Ardois, the catcher, and Aaron Cook, right-hander on the mound.
So Clint Hurdle looking on, and I'm sure he's soaking it in also. What's going on here with Mike Piazza? Nice crowd on hand for this, the final day of the season for the New York Mets. They've been playing some good baseball. And they're looking forward. There was a sign here about last night there was a sign about a new era starting next year. There's David Wright and Jose Reyes leading the way into that new era. David Wright, I'm sure, looking at this thing with wide eyes, and so is Jose Reyes looking at Mike Piazza's final game here on this gorgeous afternoon.
Barmes hits that ball deep down the left field line. And it is a home run. Fair. Just tucked it inside the pole. Clint Barmes hits his 10th home run of the year.
You wonder what he would have done this year if he didn't pick up that deer meat. You know, he really ruined his year when he was injured carrying deer meat. And he missed quite a bit of the season to injuries.
He's ending up just about 350 at-bats. He probably lost 200 plus at-bats to that injury.
They felt that he had a real good shot at Rookie of the Year.
Absolutely. He was the leader out of the gates this year.
But you know, at the end of the gate, Ryan Howard. There's a drive down the left field line, and that ball carried right over the AmeriQuest sign for a home run. Right down the line, 338 feet from home plate.
1-1 now to Helton. It's only the 12 home runs Zambrano has allowed this year. The Mets staff has been outstanding this year. Of course, using this ballpark for its characteristic of being a bad power park, the Mets have allowed the second fewest home runs in the National League this year.
Just goes to show you what Mike Piazza did in this ballpark in 8 years.
For example, Tom Glavine, 211 innings this year. He only gave up 12 home runs.
But Tom Glavine was honored before the game. He got the Sharp Player or Pitcher of the Month for the New York Mets. It's a great sign for not only Tom Glavine, but the Mets going into next season. Tom Glavine, past few months, pitched like he was 25 years old.
During the course of the day, we'll also try to give you some of those year-end perspectives where the Mets stand as Helton swings and misses, and Zambrano records a strikeout.
Well, defensively behind Zambrano, you can know Jose Reyes is out there. He's been out there all year. Jacobs, Hernandez, Reyes in right, Floyd, Beltran, Diaz left to right in the outfield, Piazza behind the plate. How about 161st game of the season for one of the most exciting players in all of the major leagues, Jose Reyes. There are two guys right there that have worked diligently with Jose Reyes all season long.
And Matt Holliday was back through the middle for a hit. So Holliday putting a very good finish on to his first full season. End up in the top 10 in the league in hitting, just like David Wright. Well, this is copyrighted telecast presented by authority of Sterling. Mets may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mets. Garrett Atkins, third baseman. A lot of UCLA talk this week with Chase Utley, the Phillies. Freddie Mitchell, the Eagles wide receiver, who was there the other night in Philadelphia to watch Utley play. And Garrett Atkins, also a UCLA product. Well, that's a story that will have to be addressed by Victor Zambrano. That's all on him. And this has been a story that, for the future, Zambrano will have to. As you can see, the just incredible jump. Pudge Rodriguez on his best day wouldn't have had a chance.
Huge jump, and of course, then Victor Zambrano is extremely slow with his kick and his delivery to the plate. So you combine those two, and the catcher just has to prudently hold the ball.
.25 bases now stolen while Zambrano's on the mound this year. And the next most, again from perspective, the next most bases stolen against the Met pitcher is 14. So it just gives you an idea that to make the next step as a starting pitcher, that's something Zambrano will have to, he's going to have to curtail ability of teams to run freely on him. And that's going to be a run. So the stolen base winds up costing Zambrano and the Mets a run as Atkins delivers, and it's 2-0.
Well, Atkins hitting his ball just like Holliday did, right back up the middle. And after the stolen base, Holliday scores easily, and the Rockies have a 2-0 lead with 2 out here in the first.
89th run batted in for Atkins, leads the Rockies. Brad Hopp, the batter. There you see the element that Zambrano has tried to add, but it's been inconsistent. That slide step delivery. The Mets this year worked so hard with Zambrano and succeeded in large measure in getting his command better. And it felt that, having him obsess about runners would have been perhaps an overload. Too much too soon.
Ted, I talked to Tom Glavine the other day. Did an interview for a Hot Stove show we've seen a couple of weeks on MSG, and I asked him what he thinks when he sits in the dugout and watches a pitcher that can't hold a runner on and a pitcher that can't bunt somebody over. He said, well, he said it does upset me. He said because, and he doesn't mention names. He said with work, you can correct it. You can correct the pitch, move to first base. With bunting practice, you can get the runner over to second base. He said pitchers are taking out a game in the 6th inning because they can't bunt.
Drive out to center. Beltran gliding back on this one. So the Rockies start the day with 2 in the 1st inning. But Mike Piazza back for one last day at Shea in that traditional spot. He'll hit cleanup. New York Mets baseball brought to you in part by your local Tri-State Quality Ford store with the best-selling vehicles on the planet. By Aflac, ask about it at work. And by Hyundai, with quality that lets them offer America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. There's the lineup board in the Met clubhouse. Those sliding tiles. Mike Piazza's name has slid this year down the order, but one last day, Fran, in that traditional spot.
Yeah, that's a nice touch by Willie Randolph, and of course putting Mike Piazza in the cleanup spot. Most of his career, as anybody who followed the game knows, he batted fourth. Willie Randolph in that dugout has done a very good job managing the Mets ball club this year. Throughout the year, late in the season, when the ball club was pretty much eliminated, not mathematically, but emotionally, Willie kept the team in. He challenged him, and the team played very well.
Reyes with bouncing ball for the out, and who knows, could this be a lineup that could be a forecast of 2006 for the Mets, with Carlos Beltran batting second.
Yeah, Carlos Beltran's had a lot of success batting in that second hole, but he batted third most of the year.
And of course, the rest of the lineup there, the numbers, as you see Aaron Cook on the mound.
See his Rico numbers. Opponents hitting .303 against the right-hander.
And so Beltran, who is ending the season in a slump at the plate, bats second. It is the 3rd time this year that Willie Randolph has started Beltran in this spot. Carlos, 4 hits in his last 33 at-bats.
And defensively for the Rockies, you see Helton, Gonzalez, Farms, and Atkins in the infield. Holiday, Sullivan up left to right in the outfield. Artois behind the plate, and Cook on the mound.
Nice inside corner hit there for Cook. Carlos Beltran's lifetime batting average is .284 coming into the year, so he's well below that at .266 starting this final day.
Well, the one thing Carlos did, as everybody knows, is last year in the playoffs he lit it up, and he looked like he was playing T-ball. He hit everything hard, extra base hits, and he was the most dominant hitter probably in postseason play last year. And you're not going to do that all season long.
This will be the first full season of Beltran's career in which he does not drive in 100 runs. 5 full seasons prior to this, 100 RBIs in each.
Yeah, 78 RBIs this year for Beltran.
He whacks that ball. That's going to make Beltran feel a lot better. Deep drive to the right of dead center and a 1-out double. That's the first loud ball he's hit over a week.
And that's a good-looking swing. Mike Piazza came out on deck. Cliff Floyd will be the hitter. Big number 31 will hit this inning. These folks are into it with Mike Piazza in the lineup.
Well, Cliff Floyd now standing in, and today is a milestone day for Cliff. 150 games. He has done it once before, Cliff, in 1998, though, to give you an idea, 7 years ago, at the tender age of 25, played 153 games for Florida. And now 7 years later, 150 games he's played in for the Mets. I'd love to crank one here and make that final run at 100 RBIs.
swing right here from number 30, Cliff Floyd, but pulled off the ball a little bit and ran that fastball down and away.
Cliff hasn't driven in a run in the series. Homered the last night in Philadelphia.
I mentioned yesterday in interviewing Cliff, he told me that he felt the longest home run he hit this year was in Philadelphia early in the year when Willie Randolph gave him a take sign 3-0 and he missed it. And he hit the ball 9 miles. He said Willie did say to him, by the way, the take sign was on. But that was a long, that's his most memorable home run this year.
Pitch inside, 2-2.
One of the things that Cliff said helped him is the way he turned away from that ball right there. Makes him stay in longer against left-handers because when the ball's inside, he turns his body towards the catcher. So when he's swinging the bat, when you stay in longer, they tell you, the good hitters and the good hitting instructors will tell you that's the way to do it. You hang in longer. You don't pull off the ball.
Big bouncing ball to the second baseman Gonzalez. So Beltran will go to third with 2 outs for Mike Piazza.
The catcher, number 31, Mike Piazza.
He wanted to let the crowd run this show.
That's right.
He silenced them by just going ahead and pitching to Piazza.
You can't block me with fans.
Bouncing ball to the shortstop Barnes. And Piazza grounds out to end the first inning. May 23rd, 1998, his first game as a Met. He'll be introduced today, each at bat with the same songs that he chose 7.5 years ago for what may well be his last day as a Met. Second inning at Shea, and I think a tribute to Mike Piazza as well, as you see the crowd. A terrific turnout today on the final Sunday of the year. I mean, I know it's a gorgeous day, but of course you got the Jets and Giants both playing today. I think it's a tribute again to Piazza. A lot of Met fans, boy, walking around the stadium before the game. There was amazing the number of Mike Piazza shirts you saw, and really the good cheer that you felt from Met fans.
You know, Ted, you're looking at these Mike Piazza shirts. I'll bet that the Mets over the last 8 years, that was the hottest selling item when you go to Mets.com, those Piazza shirts. As you mentioned earlier in the open, he stands along with Tom Terrific as 2 of the icons in the history of the New York Mets.
Well, Tom is the only player whose number's retired. 4 numbers out there in left field. Tom Seaver's the only player. Well, someday I think there's a very good chance you'll see that right there. Minor and a hit for Luis Gonzalez. Leading off here in the second inning.
Well, my favorite moment, Ted, concerning Mike Piazza, of course, it was an emotional night at Shea Stadium right after 9/11. It's September 21st. Steve Carsey, a New Yorker, threw the ball, and Mike Piazza hit that home run. And so many emotions, so many conflicting emotions going through the bodies of everybody in the world. And for a brief moment at this stadium in Flushing, New York, Mike Piazza gave baseball fans something to look at and for a brief moment enjoy.
And I can tell you, I obviously was not here that night.
It was wild.
I can tell you that no one obviously can understand exactly how it felt here in New York, but we were watching that moment in San Francisco, in the ballpark. just before a game started there, and you could feel a lot of emotion there. I mean, people tried their best to understand what it meant here in New York. So the point I was making was that the tremors of that home run were felt 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, well, I can understand. Really, if you were a baseball fan, you certainly took notice of Mike Piazza, that home run against the Atlanta Braves, and it was quite a night. And you know, like I said, the emotions, the conflicting emotions. You know, you wanted to be excited about something like that, but what happened on 9/11 just wouldn't allow it. But for a brief moment, you could appreciate this little game of baseball.
Someday when it's all done, I've got to believe Mike will feel that way about that home run.
Oh, yeah.
It had a significance far more than a baseball game.
It was a night I'll never forget. And I'll tell you what, the Mets put on a display. Unfortunately, you know, they rose to the occasion. The occasion was so traumatic for everybody. And the Mets just did a terrific job that night. Mike Piazza capped it off.
Runner goes. Benoit fouls at the plate. 1-2. We're also going to keep you caught up on the wild card races today that are in play. The Phillies are underway in Washington. They are scoreless in the second inning. And shockingly, the Indians are already trailing in a must-win day, 2-0. They're trailing the White Sox second inning. The Indians game starting an hour before the Red Sox-Yankees game. Strike 3 to Ardwan. All right, we heard Fran's memorable Mike moment. Matty, how about you?
Well, Ted, it also comes against the Atlanta Braves, but this time it turns out to be in a losing effort. Game 6 of the '99 playoffs against the Braves. The Mets are down 5-0 after 1. They rallied to tie it on Mike's 2-run homer off of John Smoltz, and it stood out for me because by the end of that season, he was spent physically and mentally. He only had 4 hits in the postseason, but with one last moment, he reached down off a great pitcher and delivered one more time for the Mets. They staved off elimination for a few innings before losing in 11. The season drained him so much, and he had brilliant numbers, 303, 40 home runs, and 124 runs batted in. But he never came back to New York. He didn't fly back with the team after the loss in Game 6. He got in a car, he rented a car, drove through the Deep South, visiting Civil War monuments and battle sites, and just thought about history, which he loves so much, and let the season slowly wash away. It took a long time, almost till the start of spring training of 2000, before that season got out of his system. Just one last moment, reaching down deep, elevating the Mets into a tie, hopefully forcing a Game 7. Alas, it wasn't to be, but it told me a lot about Mike Piazza and how much reserve he has and how steely he can be when it looks like all is done.
There's a strike to the pitcher, Cook. Well, you look at those numbers. I'm looking here. Mike played 141 games that year, 99 for the Mets. 40 homers, 124 RBIs. Those matched his career best. He had the same identical power numbers in '97 for the Dodgers, the year he hit 362. And to me, obviously it didn't happen as a Met. That's his most incredible baseball achievement. Cook bunts foul, strike 3. For a catcher to hit 362 on natural grass with no speed.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, I wasn't here obviously for the Mets winning years to see Mike. So in the last years, I'm going to remember this play more than it just happened last weekend. For a 37-year-old catcher, over 1,500 games behind the plate, to show this agility, to make this play, I'll always remember that. That is utterly astounding to me, and I don't think he's received anywhere near the credit in the last week for that play that he should.
Yeah, that was a terrific play by, as you mentioned, a catcher who's caught all those games, and 37 years old. He does keep himself in terrific shape, so it wouldn't surprise me if he can still hammer the baseball under the right conditions. Remember Reggie Jackson's last year in New York, playing out his option, struggled with the bat, and then went out to Anaheim, and as a DH, believe he led the league in home runs the following year. Might have tied with somebody with the Brewers, I'm not sure, but
fouled away again by Sullivan, and it's 2 strikes.
I'm sure the one thing that Mike will always look back on if he's gonna look back on something he'd like to, really change for the fans of New York was the throwing to second base the last few years because of the bouncing of the ball to second base. So that thing there, he doesn't talk about it much, but I know, he's proud about it. He's proud about being a good catcher. And that's the one thing that'll drive him crazy. I know it would drive any catcher crazy. But again, he just doesn't talk about it. And it's funny, when you look at him throw, even between innings, he still has decent velocity to second base. Sometimes you get a mental block whether it's throwing back to the pitcher or to second base, and it's difficult to overcome.
Ooh, nice comeback for Zambrano after the leadoff single. He strikes out the side in the second.
Well, today's keys to the game are presented by your local Hyundai dealers, and those are the keys the fans will help the home team and win one for Mr. Piazza. So those are Hyundai keys to the game, and David Wright will lead it off. He's the Mets' 5th batter of the game. That means it is time to take 5. Fans, go to your New York Lottery retailer and pick up a New York Lottery Take 5 play card for your chance to win. And watch this kid hit. You're going to see him for years to come, Ted.
And he has had one terrific finish to what had already been a marvelous season.
He was telling me his mom came in town for a couple days. So he's impressing mom with this offense. Long home run in last night's ball game.
4 homers, 7 RBIs the last 4 games, but shading the middle of the diamond. Second baseman Gonzalez throws him out here.
Taking a chance doing that because he could pop that ball to right field very hard. I think we're going to see even more home runs from David Wright next year the other way. He's the one guy that reminds me of the way Mike Piazza emphasizes his hands when he hits.
So Mike Jacobs will hit with 1 out. And Jacobs just continues to match another mammoth home run. Well, you heard Omar Minaya say it last night, and Jacobs has played his way into the Mets' thinking.
He played his way into the fans of the New York Mets since coming to the big leagues on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. He hit that pinch hit home run, and he liked the feeling. He hasn't stopped. 11 home runs for Mike Jacobs, the Mets' new power hitting first baseman. Watch this. Beautiful swing. He drives his ball 9 miles. Almost hit that scoreboard out there right center field. I mean, the Mets caught a break with this kid.
Well, that ball's hit well by Victor Diaz. Sullivan back, and it is gone. The Rockies go back-to-back to tie the game. And both exhibiting their strength. Jacobs, a pull hitter with power, and Victor Diaz, who has terrific power the other way.
How about this big crowd here today? They came out to celebrate the past and Mike Piazza. Well, they're here to enjoy what could be the future. Victor Diaz and Mike Jacobs going deep. Look at this. Ball out over the plate, and Diaz drives the ball over the right field wall. So now the Mets have tied this baby up at 2 apiece.
I'll tell you, Diaz does have some power the other way, doesn't he?
He has power the other way, and Mike Jacobs, we've talked about that swing. He has a beautiful swing, and can he generate power? Plus, he can use the whole field. He hits that ball pretty well the other way. He's going to work in Venezuela for the month of, I believe, he's going to go down to the 17th of October, and he'll probably come back on the 1st of December. But he's going to work on his defense in Venezuela playing winter ball.
And that's imperative. He must do that.
You know, it's funny.
As Hernandez chops one. And he's thrown out by Gonzalez. 2 away.
Mike Jacobs told me, you know, he feels that he's got to get lighter on his feet. I heard one time that a manager, a guy you knew out there in San Francisco, Charlie Fox, said that he liked it if a player could dance. You know something? I mean, I'm not into the front of steer type of dancing, but I'll guarantee you, if he did a lot of dancing, he'd get light on his feet. It would help him around first base. He's not heavy-legged. When Mike went to first base, he was heavy-legged. This kid here could do it. He wants to play first base. It's a big adjustment, as we've seen, going from behind the plate to first base, because now the ball's coming at you off the bat. But I get a feeling he's young enough and
that's what
agile enough to do it.
That's what you have to hope. As we've talked about this all September. Once in a while, you'll see Jacobs come out between innings to warm a pitcher up behind the plate, but he is not a catcher anymore. He is a first baseman.
Yeah,
that's where his future is.
He told me yesterday he doesn't want to give up catching, but you know what? You want to add about 5 years onto your career if you can get away from home plate. Catching, I should say. Mike Jacobs has one heck of a swing, and there he is with Victor Diaz. Talking about the home runs, Mike Jacobs now with the 11 home runs. That was a great shot right there. You saw Mike Piazza celebrating the past with Mike Piazza. Folks here at Shea, it's a big crowd looking at what could be the future here at Shea.
2-2 now to Zambrano.
Making him a very young infield next year, a very powerful infield.
Jacobs with 11 home runs now in 97 at-bats. Zambrano looks a fly ball into the sun field out there and staggering, but finally catching is Holiday. And so indeed it's Met rookies that go out. Jacobs and Diaz back-to-back tie the game in the seventh.
2-2 the score here at Shea Stadium. Final day of the regular season for the Mets, and in all likelihood the final day in a Mets uniform for Mike Piazza.
Clint Barnes is the batter. He's 1 for 1 in his ball game. We have a tied ball game. We're all tied at 2. We'll get back to Matt Loughlin and Todd Zeile in just a moment. We have some small glitch with Matty's mic, and Matty will go out and fix it. And he'll be back in a few minutes. Beautiful afternoon here at Shea Stadium. A lot of folks on hand to celebrate with Mike Piazza. Probably his last game with the New York Mets as Barnes fouls the ball off, so it's 0-2 on the Rocky shortstop. And Mike Piazza has left us all with many, many memories, and I'm sure, Ted, you've got memories of him as a Dodger, too.
Unfortunately, yeah. As a fly ball out to Diaz starts the inning. And as I said in the opening, I mean, I guess maybe that's a little bit different perspective I come at it with, is that seeing Piazza a lot as a Dodger, you always envision that's where he would play his entire career. And to now fast forward and see him end his time here in all likelihood having played more games as a Met and will, I think, always be remembered as a Met.
Yeah, he caught exactly 700 games for the Dodgers, but he's been behind the plate in New York 826 times for the Mets. He had 177 home runs for the Dodgers, 220 with the Mets.
I laugh with Piazza a lot because, of course, on this last day of the season, he has a fond memory. The last day of his rookie season in 1993, he hit 2 home runs at Dodger Stadium to help decide a division race. Atlanta and San Francisco went down to the final day. Both teams won more than 100 games. And on the final day, the Dodgers beat the Giants to clinch it for Atlanta. Piazza hit 2 homers, and of course that started a great love affair in Los Angeles that came to an end when he was traded to Florida for those 5 memorable Marlin games he played.
And guess who he went there with? Todd Zeile. Todd said they used to drive to the ballpark together, and he said he couldn't take the music that Mike enjoyed.
We always joke about that too. The 5 games, he only played 5 games as a Marlin. He hit a triple. He's only hit 6 in his career. He had 1 of them in those 5 days in Florida.
Something had to happen in the outfield which allowed that to happen, that triple. Like an inside the park home run, something funny usually happens in the outfield. I would say in those triples, something funny happened.
Ooh, Helton rips one right back at Zambrano. Get a piece of that?
Yes, he did.
Ooh. He's okay, thankfully. Helton with a solid single.
Glad told me being a hockey goalie helped him with balls like this. No hockey down there in the Caribbean, so Zambrano's not used to this. On Panasonic digital replay shows, he did make some contact with his glove against the ball.
So Holiday will bat with 1 out. Had a hit in the first inning. Rockies have had their best swings of this series so far in the first few innings against Zambrano. Holiday, another solid shot to right, but Diaz is there. So 2 down. Let's flash back 5 years to the 2000 season, the Mets National League Championship season. And in midsummer, the 10-run 8th inning against Atlanta. And Piazza culminating with the 3-run homer off Terry Mohawk. Look at Pratt. I remember that.
Todd Pratt could have pulled a muscle.
You look at the Mets in Piazza's first years here, and you see the progression. Of course, in '98, the Mets, when Piazza got here, turned it around, had a great chance to make the playoffs, and lost their last 5 games to fall out of what seemed to be a certain wild card spot.
Yeah.
In '99, they came back to get the wild card in the playoff game. Beat Arizona in the first round. Lost in the LCS, and then in 2000, got to the World Series. And I've been watching Cleveland this week, and I've been thinking that the Mets, a guy like Piazza can identify with what Cleveland's going through. As the Cleveland Indians this year may be the Mets of '98.
Yeah.
They may just not have been ready for prime time, because this week when the lights have been bright, the Indians have just folded. And that's what the Mets went through at the end of '98, and they came back the next year, matured, and then of course in 2000 it all kicked in. 2 terrific playoff series victories.
The Mets looking to next year have matured quickly at 3rd and short this year. Last year the question was, can they do it? You know, could Jose Reyes do it on a full-time basis? Could he stay healthy? Could David Wright duplicate what he did last year? Well, those questions have been answered.
Another solid hit. So Atkins with him. Well, Zambrano is not erratic with his control at all. Even throwing strikes. The bad news is that the Rockies have been hitting him sharply.
Here's that last pitch. The reason that ball's hit sharply, he usually has good natural movement on his pitches. Right there, that ball was in the hitting zone with no movement.
So Brad Hopp hits 2 on 2 out. Talking about the Indians and told you they're trailing already today 2-0 to the White Sox in the 3rd inning. The Indians must win to keep any hope alive. If the Indians lose that game, the Red Sox are in no matter what. And the same in the National League, where the Phillies are an hour ahead of the Cubs and Astros in their game. Phillies are scoreless in the 3rd inning at RFK, with John Lieber facing Hector Carrasco. So we could have 2 playoff games tomorrow. In baseball, there could be none.
Great for baseball. You know, it's funny, you're watching that playoff game in 1998 between the Red Sox and the Yankees. That's one of the broadcasters then. Was it so
78, right?
Yeah. So, what did I say, 98?
You're saying 70. You mean the Bucky Dent game, right?
Bucky Dent.
Okay.
There was so much tension in that game for the players. the winner was bound to win it all because they got away from that one-game tension. And when the Yankees beat the Red Sox, they went on and just smoked everybody else. That's a score Ted was talking about in Washington, bottom of the third. Cubbies in Houston later on. You don't think those Yankees want to beat the Red Sox today?
Well, the Yankees have some extra incentive today. Now, again, just to finish on National League, if Houston and Philadelphia end up tied today, they'll play tomorrow in Philadelphia at 4 p.m. That would be the playoff game. Hawk takes ball 4 and they're loaded up. Red Sox and Indians playoff game would be tomorrow night at Fenway if needed. Rick Peterson's going to come out here and talk to Zambrano.
We'll take a look at the score in the American League. The White Sox on top of Cleveland in the top of the third. The Yankees will take on Boston at 2:05. Schilling against Wright. So Boston, you can see, on top of Cleveland by 1 game. It's been a great year for baseball as far as division races and the wild card races. It's been absolutely a terrific addition to baseball, the wild card.
Who could have thought the possibility that the Yankees-Red Sox game on Sunday would mean nothing to either club? That's possible if the Indians don't win. Of course, that wouldn't be known until the Yankee-Red Sox game is already underway. So a bases loaded chance here for Luis Gonzalez. After the Mets got the back-to-back homers to tie the game from Jacobs and Diaz. Now Zambrano having trouble getting through the third inning. And Gonzalez back through the middle. Boy, they're wearing that center field, aren't they? Beltran, well, he double clutched and won't have a throw at the plate. 2 runs in.
Everything's being hit up the middle, but not only hit up the middle, but being really hit hard up the middle.
So 2 RBIs for Luis Gonzalez, and the Rockies regain the lead.
Here it is again. The pitch is right down. Well, you know, it's not over the plate, but more towards the corner of the plate. Ball is hit well, right back up the middle.
So Danny Ardois, the batter, with 2 down, 2 in. Ardois was called out on strikes his first time. Heath Bell is getting an early call. So the Yankees today have some incentive to win their game, as they would like to get home field first round against the Angels. They lost the season series to the Angels, so they end up with the same record. Angels would get the home field. Oh, that ball hits him. Ardois hit, and they're loaded up.
Fans are getting restless on a day where they want to celebrate the achievements of Mike Piazza. Fan Appreciation Day here at Shea. They've seen Mike Jacobs go deep and Victor Diaz go deep. Now the Mets trail by 2 runs here in the 3rd inning.
And Aaron Cook sees season hitting numbers, a chance to really help his cause here. Zambrano will go back to the windup. Back down to the bullpen goes the call. One. And a ball outside, so it is 2-1. Traxel, who heads home wondering what plans will be for him. At the end of the game today, Steve Traxel becomes a 10-5 man at the end of today's game, which of course means he cannot be traded without consent. Now 3-2. Well, obviously this is the end of the rope for Zambrano. He can't put the pitcher away.
He's working on his 33rd pitch of the inning.
70th of the game. And he didn't have to be strike. But it puts it into the inning. 2 runs scored for Colorado, and they regain the lead. Mike Piazza just watched a replay of his September 21st, 2001 home run on the video board. Gosh, the emotions must be something for him today. Emotions all around. Emotions felt most certainly as well by the many Met fans who come today to appreciate Piazza.
A few years ago, the Mets were down about 8 runs in the 9th inning, and they had an 8-run rally, and they needed another run to win the game, and Mike's home run did it. And that's the one I remember the most.
The one that sticks in my mind is the one after 9/11. It was really uplifting for the whole city and for me personally.
Since I was a big Johnny Bench fan, I would probably say him breaking Johnny's record and hitting number 390 on Italian Day this year was probably the biggest moment I've ever been to, because I got one hero breaking another hero's record, and you don't get to see that very often.
I'm going to have to say the September 21st home run against the Braves to beat the Braves right after September 11th really lifted New York and lifted me and everybody who was watching with me. And we're going to miss Mike if he's not here, but he's had a great time with us, and we wish him well wherever he goes.
Everything he did to me, it was great. And I would like to see him retire as a Met, not to go anywhere, to be a Met all the way. That number should be retired. I don't want to see him go.
Reyes chopping one, and he's got himself a hit. So Reyes on to start the Met 3rd inning. Chance for Gonzalez, the second baseman. Well, Reyes with 60 steals, tied with Sean Figgins of the Angels for the Major League lead starting play today. Jose has the National League lead by 3 over Juan Pierre.
He's gonna go.
And Beltran doesn't give him a chance. And a double play ball.
Gotta give him a little chance. Give him one pitch. We'd like to see him lead the major leagues in stolen bases.
So the excitement of Reyes' leadoff hit is quickly shelved, and now Cliff Floyd will hit with 2 outs and nobody on. The outs are grounded out in his first inning at bat. Hearing from those fans was just further proof of the emotional attachment that a player can have with a city. And it's not quite St. Louis, where wearing a shirt with a player's number on it is almost de rigueur. It's a uniform to attend a game. New York is not quite that type of city. But today you look around the stands, and not only Piazza signs, but Piazza jerseys and shirts predominate in this crowd. Floyd fouls it away. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, he is really proud of doing things like this, where he passes Carlton Fisk with that home run in the year 2004. Carlton Fisk, just a great catcher. Johnny Bench, a great catcher. Both of them in the Hall of Fame. And he passed them all.
Oh, and Cliff hits one, but he just missed it. They had a good swing on that ball. But just missed it. Caught in the right field corner by Hawk. Well, one of Mike's good friends and former teammates, Todd Zeile, will join us when we come back.
Well, last year, October showed a home run here, and this was Todd Zeile's last at bat as a New York Met, and he is saluted by his teammates. Todd with the curtain call, and we got Todd Zeile in the booth, Ted.
This is just a custom here. Last game of the season, Zeile one year, Piazza the next year. Yeah, if only Mike can write the same story you wrote last year.
All good things come to an end, right? Yeah, well, Mike's on the right start. He grounded to short like I did, I think.
It's amazing how you never forget an at bat.
Yeah, I wish there was a lot of them I wish I could forget. But
you know, Tom,
the one you showed there is obviously one that I'll always remember and was thankful for.
Well, we need to ask you. Obviously, you played with Mike in Los Angeles. You played with Mike in Florida, didn't you? Those 5 days.
Oh yeah, we got traded together.
Right.
Went to Florida. He went up to meet you guys up here in New York. I went on to Texas. And then we got reunited with the Mets. Then I took a little hiatus again, came back with the Mets.
Right. So you played with him in 3 different places. All right, first of all, Tom, how the heck did he hit a triple in those games in Florida? You remember the triple?
Yeah, you remember that kind of big coffin corner out there in right center. I think he hit a ball that everybody in the park thought was going to be out. And it hit, ricocheted, and that was before they had Juan Pierre out there running everything that goes in the air, running them down.
Who brought the oxygen out for Mike? That's what I want to know.
Well, he got a Florida native, or sort of. You know, he's kind of a Florida transplant, so he's used to that humidity. Plus, I think he was a little motivated. He hadn't been in that situation ever in his career, you know, where he's sort of in transition. You go from the Dodgers and being the guy to kind of a flux right there, and then just a couple days later, he ends up here.
Todd, you mentioned at that time, you see this ground ball to David Wright. You mentioned that when you came to New York and were reunited with Mike Piazza, that the music, when you guys used to drive to the ballpark, you didn't digest his music.
Well, he's got an interesting musical taste. Let's just put it that way. And I noticed that he came out for his first at bat to Jimi Hendrix, which is actually on the light side for him. Usually it's I tell him a lot of his music represents pure evil because it's just this it's just this hard.
Thank you. On behalf of all of us, thank you for saying that.
God. I've told him that he drags me into some of his underground music warehouse stores where he finds some of this stuff, and I said, you know, you're just dealing with the wrong crowd. That's pure evil, that stuff.
That's great. You know, that we were told that actually Mike is using the same songs today that he did his first game as a Met.
Oh, good. That makes sense. See, maybe it was New York that skewed him into that evil stint, because Jimi Hendrix, that's a good one to come out to. But we'll hear something hard before the night's over, I'm sure.
And a ground ball again to David, right? All right, Todd. So of course, what brings you to New York is the New York premiere of the movie Dirty Deeds.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
we fortunately for me, I got a chance to kind of connect with the Mets and got something that they're going to put their arms around, and we're doing a premiere and a party in Times Square with the ESPN Zone following it up, and the numbers you see on the screen there, 718-559-3154. There's still some tickets available, but I wanted to try to do something. As you guys know, a few of the guys that are with the Mets are also involved in our production company. We're doing a limited release in New York, and we wanted to try to get the guys that are here involved. So all the benefits of the money we raise for this particular premiere and this party go to the Mets Foundation, which is going to be, contributed to the hurricane relief. So something that we're happy to do and proud about, and gives me a chance to get out here and see Mike's final game in a Met uniform as well.
You happy with the final product? The film?
Yeah, it's a silly, fun teen movie. It actually, we had a limited release in Los Angeles, let it run for a couple of weeks, got great feedback from the kids that saw it, and now we're taking a little wider, getting at least a national feel. But this is not going to be something that's going to be in wide release, so you're going to have to try to find it. It's going to be in limited wide release, and then we'll be out on DVD and video in December.
Okay, I was going to say just in time for the holidays.
Exactly, and then back into production probably January.
You already have an idea? Obviously,
no, we've got something that we're really looking forward to doing. That with all I can tell you is with a director by the name of Ben Younger, who's going to really blow up here in the next few weeks. He's got some great stuff going on. He's got a movie called Prime that's coming out with Meryl Streep and with Thurman, and you're going to be reading all about that this week.
So someday, in other words, I got to call you to see if we can take lunch. Is that the idea here?
No, you'll have to call my people.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. My people will call your people back, and we'll meet at the Ivy.
At the Ivy, good. I like that.
You got to meet at the Ivy if you do anything in LA. It's not about the food; it's about being seen, right? No, I haven't been there. Haven't been there yet.
Have you talked to Mike at all this weekend, or?
We swapped messages. Yeah, I think he's been a little bit focused on sort of task at hand and probably dealing with a different range of emotions going into this final week. So I think he's just. In a lot of ways, I'm sure he's wanting to savor this, and in some ways, probably to get it under his belt and get some of the stress behind him that comes with, this kind of transition or closing a chapter in a book or whatever the case may be.
And that's why it is different. You knew last year it was the final chapter.
I had, I think, a distinct advantage over a lot of guys that I've played with and seen go out in different ways, in the sense that I knew going in it was going to be my last year. I had a chance to sort of do that mourning and accept the death, as it were, over the course of 162 games instead of, when it's over and you get a release paper or you just don't get a job.
Two and one now to Holiday. Mike doesn't, as you know, he doesn't really make major pronouncements.
No.
He sort of let things, just trickle out over the last few weeks that he wants to play again.
I think he does. I was asked about this. I think that he definitely wants to play again. I would be very surprised if he didn't. But I think, I think he's one of those guys that'll, when this one's over, he'll go. He'll probably go, take a leash and go on some kind of a trip somewhere and let it digest a little bit. And then, come October, November, I think he'll have a better feeling for what he really wants to do.
Todd, you and Robert Couture in his. That was bad. I was going to ask you a question about batting practice. Insignificant?
All right, Diaz.
I think Robin might be in town for this event.
Right?
That's great.
Well, Todd, good luck. Good luck with the film.
Thank you guys very much. Thanks for having me back.
Great. Good to see you, Todd. We're going to watch Mike lead off the bottom of the fourth.
Thanks, friend.
They're standing all the way to the top of Shea. And the ball starts Piazza's second at bat. This place will come off the hook if he can hit one.
Terrific swing of the ball here. It hit 9 miles at Pepsi picnic area. This place would go wild if it didn't begin this afternoon.
Ground ball to short. So that's the result of Piazza's first 2 at-bats. And it will bring up David Wright. I thought Todd Zeile's comments really hit. And it's sort of the same sense I've had. I don't know about you, Fran, about talking with Mike a lot. It's for Mike, I think this day is the end of maybe a month or so of just contrasting emotions.
Yeah, and he never wears, as you know, never wears his heart in his sleeve. I mean, as I mentioned last night, he's the best interviewer, one of the best interviews in all of sports. But, you know, it's tough to read Mike. He said that if, in fact, he does leave the Mets, he said it will be a very smooth transition. There'll be no...
Well, he's handled it magnificently in the last month. The inevitability of this day. Of course, part of it for Mike as well is the fact that over time, just as Todd Zeile sits here, most of the teammates that played with him here and the teammates that he was close to have moved on.
Yeah.
And he's reached that point in his career where he's somewhat, he is one of the elders of the team, but doesn't have a whole lot of history with many in the clubhouse. As David Wright's ground ball thrown out by Atkins, 2 away. So Mike Jacobs will bat. He and Victor Diaz gave the Mets their offense here in the second inning. They went back-to-back. Our cuts of the game from Subway, introducing the New York hot pastrami sandwich from Subway restaurants for a limited time only. Subway, eat fresh.
Both home runs over the right center field wall. One by Mike Jacobs, one by Victor Diaz. And Mike Jacobs is up again.
And Jacobs takes the ball. Jacobs lines one to left center field, up the gap. That's the part of Mike Jacobs, as we've watched these 100 at-bats progress, that I think is the best sign, is that he can go the other way.
And he does right here. Look at that ball move away, and look at the hips open. Hands go through the hitting zone. He drives the ball in left center field with gusto, and that ball bounces off the Impala sign out there in left center field. Mike Jacobs now a home run and a double. And he's made the team. Listening to Omar Minaya last night, I'm sure Willie Randolph would confirm it that Mike Jacobs will be his first baseman when spring training starts next year. And the Mets probably would have had to go out and, you know, think about signing a big free agent first baseman, but they might be able to save that money, and if they want to spend it on some other player, they could do that. But they certainly have a guy at first base that has a chance of being a terrific hitter. Now he's going to work on his defense, and I think the easiest thing is to get better defensively.
So Victor Diaz now with 2 down. Of course, he just looking at Jacobs. Jacobs has 30 hits now, and he's at 8 of them to left field, and that's not bad. I mean, it's not bad in the sense that he's shown the willingness to take a pitch like he just did and try to go the other way with it, and he can drive it with power.
Philadelphia hit a home run the other way.
Yes, fouls one. Ooh, he's got the guard on. Let's see where that hit him. It's hobbling.
Again, as Diaz, look at the movement on the ball, and that's why he hit it right off the foot. He hit on top of the ball. You think he's preparing for another one? How about that?
That's pain.
The shin guard.
2 strikes. And that ball runs in.
First player I remember wearing a protection on his leg, like a miniature shin guard on his leg, was the guy Ralph talked about the other day. Vic Wirtz, who hit the ball Willie Mays caught about 51 years ago.
Lays off 2-2.
51 years ago, a lot longer than that. What year was that?
51. You're right. 54 series. Oh, I saw a nice story today in Newsday on Johnny Padres. He's in town. He's in Brooklyn, commemorating the 50th anniversary of his World Series MVP.
He's
Brooklyn their World Championship.
He's responsible in part for Pedro Martinez's changeup. Guy Conti conferred with him when they were trying to get Pedro to throw it a little bit slower than he was. And of course, history's shown that Johnny Padres and Guy Conti taught Pedro a terrific changeup.
So Diaz battling here in that painful state. Boy, and he does it again. Oh.
Once is enough.
And that's rough.
Oh, jeez.
That's rough. Well, there's the story in the National League. Jimmy Rollins has extended his hitting streak to 36 games. It comes with a but, and the but is that Houston scored 2 in the bottom of the first off Greg Maddux.
And Oswalt is on the mound. He has terrific stuff.
Think about what Rollins has now done. At 36 games, he now has the 3rd longest hitting streak in the last 55 years in baseball, since 1950. 3rd longest streak. Rose, Molitor, and now Rollins. And I say 1950 again as the line of demarcation for integration of the game, where the best players all played in the big leagues slowly. And Diaz, I'll tell you, that's about as good an at bat as you've seen Diaz have. And winds up taking a walk. He just doesn't have to run. And boy, I'll tell you, the Indians, this would be an utter collapse if they can't win today, facing a rookie, Brandon McCarthy. The White Sox up 3-0. Of course, the Indians have to win or else it's over, no matter what happens in Boston. And just as always, it seems the Yankees and Red Sox would both be in. Indians have lost 5 of their last 6, and all 5 losses by 1 run.
They've had one of those emotional escalator years. How about 93 wins and a collapse?
And to throw to first, Anderson Hernandez is out, so the Mets will go to the 5th on the finale at Shea. 4-2 Rockies. All right, let's one last time at Flack you for the season. Well, obviously we know who one of those is.
And the other one is a Hall of Fame catcher also. There's 3 of them. And the other guy, Gene Mauch said, was the smartest baseball player he ever managed.
That's right. He played for a bunch of different clubs.
Yeah, and now he's an executive with the Washington Nationals.
So in the 5th inning, Mike Piazza is 0 for 2 so far. 2 groundouts. Victor Zambrano laboring, but still on the mound. Over 90 pitches.
By the way, Ted, I want to thank everybody in the press room for all their hard work this year. Yanira Sanchez, Charlie Davis, Dulce Valdez, Corey Edwards, Marcelo Gonzalez, our buddy John Esposito has been here 100 years. Got Mike Fargo and Bill DeBake. And of course, we don't want to forget Gene Raymond. All the folks in the press room have done a magnificent job once again this year.
Bill is great, man. I heard Bill the other night. I was driving back from Philadelphia, and Bill was on the fan with Steve Summers.
Was he?
And teaching about baseball. Bill is a walking encyclopedia of baseball. He's wonderful. Great fan.
It's amazing, his knowledge.
So 1 strike to Hop. Zambrano went quickly with strike 2. Well, 1-2 now to Hop. It's like the sense here is that these at-bats are just intermissions between Mike Piazza's at-bats today. You really get that feeling.
Yeah, you really do. I want to thank all the folks here.
I'll tell you what.
They've done a great job. They got the toughest job in the business.
Well, this crew is, and lots of men and women who bring you these games both on MSG and FSN New York. Strike 3 to Hop.
It's been great working with them. I mean, Charlie Fucciari, you know him. He's the one who gives you those tough quizzes day in and day out.
7 strikeouts now for Zambrano, as Luis Gonzalez will bat. And just a whole bunch of dedicated professionals, terrific people all.
Yes.
And what astounds me is how well they perform given the handicap of spending much of their summer with Bill Webb. And I admire them all of you. Everybody, great job except Webb. All right, a ground out 1-2-3 inning here in the 5th. So to the bottom of the 5th, Victor Zambrano will hit for himself, facing right-hander Aaron Cook. I haven't really had a chance to talk about this amazing story that Aaron Cook has. A pitcher just started pitching this season right after the Mets were in Denver in late July. Former high draft pick out of Stanford University, 26 years old. Zambrano bunts foul. But last year, August 7th of last year, Cook had to leave a game against Cincinnati complaining of dizziness, shortness of breath, and it turned out they discovered blood clots in his right shoulder had moved into his lungs. I mean, obviously intensely serious. He underwent an 8-hour operation as the breaking ball strikes out Zambrano. Let's answer your Aflac for you.
Well, you know, Mike Piazza is one of them. And the great Carlton Fisk and Bob Boone. Those are the 3 catchers. The answer to our Aflac trivia question.
Reyes drives one to right field, and Hop is there for the 2nd out.
You know, it's amazing looking at that answer. Carlton Fisk, who was a born and bred New Englander, who was very popular in Boston, ended up leaving the Red Sox in kind of a controversial manner, the way Mike Piazza left the Dodgers in an unpleasant manner. Carlton Fisk, of course, finished his career in Chicago with the White Sox, and it was a Hall of Fame career, and Mike's doing it in New York. I believe Carlton Fisk caught more games for the White Sox than he did for the Red Sox. Of course, he hit that very dramatic home run in the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds.
So 2 strikes here to Beltran, who's doubled and hit into a double play. Fouls that back. Floyd would hit next, 2 outs. Piazza behind him. Beltran fouls another one away. Well, Cook had that 8-hour surgery last September. They took a rib away to relieve compression on a vein that was causing all of the circulatory problems, then had to go a 2nd procedure at Christmas last year. And it was not until the end of July this year that he could come back and pitch. And what's meaningful about that is there's a pitcher here in the ballpark that can fully appreciate that. And the first pitcher I believe that ever underwent similar surgery was Roberto Hernandez, who in 1991 was found to have a blood clot in his shoulder when he was a young pitcher with the Chicago White Sox and had an 11-hour surgery in which they relieved again the pressure. They took a vein, I believe, from a leg and put it into his arm to help relieve pressure. And Hernandez was able to resume a pitching career that, I mean, they were talking about life concerns. There's Roberto. Still, if you look at his right forearm, you'll still to this day see a long scar from that surgery. And I believe he was the first pitcher that ever had that kind of operation done and was able to come back and pitch. And Aaron Cook here 14 years later, one of the beneficiaries of that. So was former Met pitcher Jeff D'Amico. So Cliff Floyd will start the bottom of the 6th when we get there. Danny Ardoin will start the top of the 6th. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Unless I'm going to revolutionize the game.
It put Cliff Floyd up there. It would be different.
Yeah. Ardoin has been called out on strikes, and he's been hit by a pitch.
Some more of the credits for folks here at do such a terrific job bringing you all the telecast here at Shea Stadium surrounding Met baseball. They all work so very, very hard. They're here extremely early putting together everything, and then the announcers come in and relax. Talk about the game. Those guys do all the work. Men and women.
So 8 strikeouts now for Zambrano, and 5 have been looking, which is unusual. Last day of the season. Why would you want to look at a 3rd strike?
Last day of the season, it's funny. A lot of guys are in a hurry to get the game over and leave. This is a different situation here. A lot of the guys enthusiastically waiting for the fans to appreciate the achievements of Mike Piazza as a Met in the last 8 years.
It's the visiting team that's usually ready to. They've got their flights.
They get these young kids, though. You know, when you're a young kid, you want to impress that manager one more time before you go home.
That's driven by Cook toward the right field line, and Diaz has it rolled by him, and Cook's keeping running. And Cook's on his way to 3rd, and he'll make it there. So someday people will ask, how did Aaron Cook ever hit a triple?
Somebody fell down.
And Victor Diaz, the contributor.
Take a look at this again. Cook hits the ball to the right side. Now everybody's watching as Victor Diaz goes over, and ball gets by him. We talk about Mike Piazza hit a triple with the Marlins. So that's the first triple of Cook's career. They caught him by surprise, obviously. He's picking up speed, and he makes it safely into 3rd base.
So with 1 out, Corey Sullivan will bat. The Mets are now forced to pull the infield in.
Back to some of the credits, Ted, that folks here at Shea Stadium deserve, bringing all the telecasts to the folks at home.
To the middle with a base hit. So Sullivan drives in Cook. Boy, the Rockies have done this today to Zambrano. Back through the middle.
It's going to be about the 5th hit back through the middle. Cook scoring on that after hitting a triple.
The interesting decision there by the Mets is playing the infield in. With the pitcher on 3rd base, that would not be a situation where you'd expect a contact play. So the Mets might have had, well, not might have, did have the option to leave the infield even halfway there. Chose to play it to try to choke off and run at any expense. I'm saying that with the pitcher team, most teams just never want to send a pitcher into a possible rough play at home plate. Sullivan taking a moment there after that dive back into 1st. Jammed up his right hand apparently. Got a real good base stealer helping there. Dave Collins, who was an outstanding base stealer in the American League in his playing days.
He could fly. You know, years ago when I was with the Yankees before opening day in Anaheim, Thurman Munson, myself, and Catfish Hunter had dinner before the opening day. And Catfish, good, nice guy. And he was kidding around with this. He said, you know, I can't get Collins out. He said, I think I'm going to drill him when he comes to the plate. Thurman said, don't do that. I can't throw him out.
The left field line, Floyd chasing and foul.
Dave Collins could really run. I think he still has the high school state record, 100-yard dash. One of the
South
states.
Dakota.
Yeah.
Dave Collins, again, not a place where a lot of players come from. Played in the 70s into the mid-80s. Still looks like he can run a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's got the stopwatch out. Timing Zambrano to the plate.
Runner going. Reyes has to go to first base. Retires Barmes. Sullivan will be at second.
Well, he just grabbed that ball. A lot of times you give up the ball, that Reyes just grabbed that ball with that glove and fired it across the infield. As you continue to see the folks here at Shea that associated with Madison Square Garden that do a terrific job, not only bringing you the telecast on MSG, also Fox Sports Net New York and WB11. Buddy Leslie Howard there. Kathy Burke. Dave Patterson at Sports Desk.
Our colleagues at Elias Sports Bureau.
Can't stump them. There's Jay Horowitz and Charlie Samuels.
Special thanks to those folks with the Mets organization who make our lives on a daily basis much easier. And we also have to send a special shout to Kathy Burke, who deals with us, and we are not easy. And she deals with us on a daily basis all year long. With a smile.
Making sure we get to where we're going.
The 2-0 now to Helton.
You're going to walk him.
So the Mets will choose to pitch to Holiday. Interesting that Holiday's had a very strong finish to the season. Hit the ball well today. A base hit to score a run. Lined out to right, flied to right. And he'll bat here with 2 on and 2 out. Zambrano's thrown 114 pitches. We're in the 6th inning. 3 walks, a hit batsman, of course one of the walks intentional, and 8 strikeouts. But 9 hits for Colorado. Atlanta's leading in Florida today in the 6th inning 3-1. If the Braves win there, the Mets will be guaranteed a finishing 3rd in the division. There'll be no losing record in the East if Washington can come back and beat Philadelphia today. Every team in the East would finish above 500. While San Diego, which is going to the playoffs, may be a 500 team. If the Padres lose today in their season finale, they end up right at 500. Tuesday afternoon, they're going to play a playoff game. There's a base hit for Holiday. That'll score Sullivan. Helton stops at second, so Holiday drives in his 87th run of the year. And the customers are saying that they've seen enough, and Willie Randolph will come out to make a move. So the final start, which would have been Pedro's, but goes to Victor Zambrano, does not go the way that Victor would have liked to finish. instead bring Heath Bell in out of the bullpen for the Mets. Home to the bullpen, sponsored by Levitra of Ardennical HCL. Learn about Levitra. Visit msg.levitra.com for tips to help you talk to your doctor and learn about a valuable offer. Last preseason hockey game at the Garden today. Devils and Rangers do battle. You'll see it live on MSG at 5 this afternoon. Victor Zambrano labored today. 117 pitches and gives way here in the 6th inning with 2 outs to Heath Bell, who did find the mound the other night when he pitched for the first time in almost a month. Philadelphia worked an inning and a third. So he'll get one more appearance before season's end. Heath Bell's going to winter ball in the Dominican. He'll play for the team in Licey in the Dominican Republic. Manny Acta, the Mets' third base coach, is involved with that team. Heath Bell's going to be the closer for that club. Aaron Heilman is going to start. And a one pitch here gets Atkins on a fly ball. So the Rockies put on 2 more to the lead. Mike Piazza's 3rd at-bat of this afternoon ahead. Today's Mets game on FSN New York being presented by Subway.
Now take a look at that Jeep game summary. 200. It's all about Mike Piazza. 208 different Mets players have appeared in at least one game since Mike Piazza joined the team in 1998. Piazza is the only player in Mets history with 300 average, 30 home runs, and 100 RBIs in 2 seasons. And got to emphasize most of it as a catcher. So he'll bat this inning. He'll follow the big boy right there, Ted.
But Floyd, a ground out and a fly out. Aaron Cook still on the mound for Colorado. Boy, another shot to right field. Going out of here. Floyd, a line drive, just like he's done all year. So Cliff Floyd sets the stage for Piazza. And a 3rd straight ground ball to short. We know early exit, I would imagine, for Mike, so he'll get at least one more swing.
You can see where Mike Piazza could be a little over anxious today. And Cliff Floyd's not. He hits a frozen rope. It's a Panasonic digital replay. And look at this. This is vintage Cliff Floyd. A line drive off the HIP sign out there beyond the Geico sign in right field. A bullet by Cliff Floyd. Ooh, David Wright just took. You know, when you're a catcher, you don't want to lose your mask. But Cliff Floyd, he's hit some line drives. So he hit the one I was even. Wow, this one was impressive. The one he hit in Florida was very impressive. A line drive straight over the center field wall. He hit some long singles the past week and a half. Line drives off the right field fence.
Tell you what, if Cliff plays golf this winter, he's going to have a heck of a 2-iron, because that's what he hits.
Yes, he
does.
hits
those low bolts. 34 homers, 98 now batted in for Cliff. He's in fact, he's now alone 8th place in the league in home runs.
They got to get a couple guys on for him next time up, see if he can get there at 100 mark.
Work a tie with Cabrera and Delgado of Florida. So now alone at 8th with 34 homers. David Wright, 10th in the league, starting play today with 102 RBIs. In right center field, Sullivan there. So David 0 for 3. And with 2 down, Jacobs will bat. Jacobs, good day. Long home run to right center, and then a long double to left center. Maybe just as important. And Jacobs snagged there by Helton. Cook covers, so Jacobs robbed of what would have been a third hit. Mets get on the board with Floyd's 34th. Rockies, though, still lead into the 7th. With a heavy heart and a serious dose of nostalgia, we recognize the last time we present to you our fact of the game from Levitra of Vardenafil HCL. Hey, now's a good time to get the facts about Levitra. Visit msg.levitra.com to learn about Levitra and a valuable offer. I used to wake up in the middle of December. You bolt up in the middle of the night reciting the disclaimer. It's one of the things that happens to us. It's an occupational hazard. I think it's going to be replaced by the fact of the game this week. Seventh inning, Heath Bell. The mound for the Mets. Things haven't changed for the wild card berths in either league. Houston has taken their 2-0 lead behind Oswalt into the 4th inning. That ball by Hop caroms off David Wright, and Hop will be aboard.
Hop picks himself up a base hit, too hot to handle, says the official score. Look at it again. When you're confronted with a ball like that, you're just hoping the glove does its job. You got to pick it, Wilson. And at times when you don't pick it, you chase it. But it was too hot to handle. A base hit for Hop. David Wright with the sunglasses on down there at third base.
So Gonzalez 2 for 3 with a 2-run single back in the 3rd inning. White Sox are still leading Cleveland 3-0 now in the 6th inning. Bottom 6 in Cleveland. So if the results, as they stand now, if they hold up, there'll be no playoff games tomorrow. The National League would have San Diego and St. Louis matching up Tuesday. Atlanta would play Houston. Boy, they've had some playoff history with each other. And the American League would depend on the Yankee game. If the Yankees win, well, it would depend actually. Home field would depend on whether the Yankees win. The Yankees would play the Angels. Red Sox would play the White Sox.
What a home field advantage for the Yankees and the Angels. That's crucial because that trip across the country, even though it's a playoffs, the time change still exists.
Which they have to do twice, as the Yankees learned in those series with Oakland. Right now, the Angels are trailing 4-1 in their game in Texas in the 4th inning, and so that would also make the Yankee game moot. If the Angels lose, the Yankees get home field no matter what. Base hit for Gonzalez.
Look at our American League update. As Ted mentioned, the Yankees, well, you see that Cleveland score with the White Sox. They're trailing 3-0, and it's zip. Yankees and Red Sox 3rd.
There's the National League setup. Phillies comfortable behind Lieber and needing help after Houston got 2 off Maddox in the 1st inning. Phillies did a good job to get this to the final day. They looked out of it. Courtesy of the Mets earlier this week. But they won 3 in a row. That's interesting with the pitcher coming up that they would have him bunting. Dontrell Willis, by the way, is pitching in Florida today, trying to get another victory. He has 12 strikeouts in 7 innings to Dontrell Willis, but the Marlins are trailing the game 3-1. Ardois could not bunt, so he strikes out swinging. So that'll bring up Aaron Cook. At the end of this half inning, the 7th inning stretch today, the Mets are going to have a special video tribute at Shea Stadium to Mike Piazza. We're going to stay here with you for that. I'm just laughing. I'm looking. Dontrell's batting 7th again today. Is that Jack McKeon's final shot? Keith Bell picks it up and gets Cook at first base. So Cook is able to sacrifice the runners ahead, but now there are 2 down.
I thought Jack would move him up to, say, 5th or 4th. Like a high school game when a pitcher pitches and bats 4th.
It's widely expected that today is going to be Jack McKeon's last game.
He'll move into the front
office as the Marlins manager, so that could be his parting gift.
Well, he batted Dontrell Willis 7th here when Willis pitched against the Mets, and Willis got a base hit.
So Corey Sullivan batting 2 on and 2 out, 2 in scoring position here for the Rockies. 3 straight nights here, the Rockies didn't do an awful lot of hitting and did very little hitting with runners in scoring position. They capitalized on that today. They've had 3 run-scoring hits with 2 outs, all on Victor Zambrano. And Sullivan takes a strike. Always judgments being formed, and so Rick Peterson watching Heath Bell, who wants to come back into spring training next year to be counted on as a member of this bullpen. 3-1. Strike. 3-2. See, I've never understood this about a hitter. You've got 2 runners in scoring position. I guess he didn't. I guess he had reason to think it was inside, but you think that you want to swing the bat, right? Yep. I mean, if you're trying to prove you belong, and a balk has now been called on Heath Bell to score a run.
I agree with you. You're thinking that you want to swing the bat, drive in a couple runs.
Well, Heath Bell got a break on the call, but then all he did was just lift up his body just an inch. That's all you have to do.
The rule book says, you know, if you're trying to deceive the runner. Now, I can't believe that's trying to deceive the runner. It's almost like a twitch.
Clint Barnes in the first inning, our ExxonMobil game-changing play. Behind Aaron's Oils for Mobil, the oil that's changing oil.
He got his pitch. He hit it right down the line here at Shea Stadium. It just clears the fence in left field. So that's our game-changing play brought to you by Mobil.
And a strike to Barmes. So a 7-3 lead for Colorado. So after 3 nights of doing virtually nothing on offense, the Rockies are just breaking out today. This is the 5th time through the order, and it's only the 7th inning. There goes Sullivan. And Piazza does not throw. Sullivan with a stolen base.
last pitch right there from Heath Bell. Good fastball. Threw it right by Barnes, who, as we mentioned, is 1 for 4 with that home run to left field.
Bell misses, so it's 2-2. It's a pitching-oriented conversation. Frustrating because the Mets have pitched so well this year. And with this good crowd out here on the final day, this is not a game so far that's been reflective of the way the Mets have pitched. Mets are 3rd in the National League in ERA, and that's where they'll finish. Tied for 3rd in complete games. 4th in shutouts. 2nd fewest home runs allowed. And it's just overall, like every club, there have been breakdowns, and the Mets have had more than their share in end of games. But overall, the pitching numbers across the board are outstanding. Tom Glavine finished the year with a 3.53 ERA, which was unthinkable the way he was the first half of it. That's out to right center field for a hit for Barmes. He scored 2 more runs. So the Rockies now have a 9-3 lead as Barmes would not done anything with the bat in the first 3 games of the series. Has now a homer, a double, and 3 RBIs today, and that'll be a trip to the mound for Willie Randolph. A pitching change for the Mets. 9-3 Rockies in the 7th. I'll look out at our Delta Skycam today. Beautiful fall Sunday in New York. You wish we played another month? This kind of weather?
Beautiful weather here in New York. And our Toyota game summary on a gorgeous day in Flushing in front of a big crowd. The Mets are playing. That's our game summary brought to you by Toyota. Barnes, the home run over the AmeriQuest sign out there in left field. Gonzalez, 3 singles. How about Jacobs' solo home run? He got all of it. So did Diaz and Floyd. So the Mets with 3 solo home runs, and Mike Piazza 0 for 3 on a day where a lot of people came out to wish him well if in fact he does leave the Mets after today's game.
So Danny Graves gets a call. Another pitcher like Heath Bell that has barely pitched in the end of the season here, so would not be fair to have a high expectation. I gotta laugh. We're talking about Dontrell Willis batting 7th today in Florida. Marlins just scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th to take the lead in that game. Dontrell got a goal with a base hit.
That's amazing.
He got the rally started. You might see, so Jack will light up one more cigar for that one, huh?
That's right. You might see that more often if you get better hitters as pitchers.
Elton drives one to left field. And Floyd can't get it. Home run, line drive just beyond Floyd's reach and out into the bullpen.
How about power the other way? Todd Helton hitting a line drive over the fence into the Rockies bullpen out there in left field. I didn't think that ball was going to carry that far.
It's just nothing more than the truth. The Mets are putting pitchers out here right now that in an ideal world would not be on the mound. Heath Bell hadn't pitched in a month until the other night. Danny Graves has really not been much since being a Met, has barely pitched at all. So again, it's pretty unrealistic to expect a whole lot.
That's this pitch was in the wheelhouse outside, and Floyd goes back in front of the AIG sign as he leaps and wasn't able to get that ball. Home run for Todd Helton.
So that was Helton's 20th home run of the year. Pop up here to Beltran, and the inning is finally over. After 2 were down, Colorado scores 5 runs. And now, hopefully the tenor at Shea Stadium will change in the next few moments as Mike Piazza is honored once again. And let's join the PA voice of Shea Stadium, Alex Anthony.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to Diamond Vision for a special video tribute to Mets catcher number 31, Mike Piazza.
Wants it away. And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2. Goodbye, home run! Mike Piazza, 11 bang! This may be it. Deep to left center. Number 300 as a catcher for Mike Piazza. Grand slam, Piazza! They go foul. Into the air to deep right field. Looking up, and it's out of here! How about that for excitement? Piazza drives one in the air to deep right center field. Back goes Tucker looking up, and it's out of here! Mike Piazza has now hit more home runs than any catcher in the history of Major League Baseball.
Those last waves, I think, were directed at his family. Mike's father and his entire family came up from Philadelphia today.
This is dad on the left. That's Piazza.
His wife Alicia's family is here also. They're having a family gathering in the city tonight.
Well, he was a star in L.A. and he brought a star to New York. And you know what? He's reluctantly going out. I'll tell you, he's very shy.
This is the guy that doesn't like curtain calls. And he's trying to get the game going again.
He's very shy.
You almost signal up there. Get some music going. Let's play. And a very nice gesture. The Colorado Rockies, to their credit, participated in this and stood and applauded as well.
A lot of young kids that watched him. That's kids. I'll tell you, that's funny. He had to go out there 3 times. He doesn't like to go out there once.
Well, he's going to hit again.
Tell you, it gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? A great video put together by the production team here at Shea Stadium. By the way, if you missed a pregame show, and also on Mets Inside Pitch, we had a feature on Mike Piazza that Roman Gakowski put together. Terrific features on Mike Piazza.
One of the great parts of being in this job is reliving again what it means to be a Met fan. And I know it's a platitude that gets thrown out a lot in reference to sports teams, but this franchise has spectacular fans. Now being passed down from generations. Now the franchise has been here long enough, and as we mentioned, there are only 4 numbers that hang in left field here. Only one is a player, Tom Seaver. And when you see this reception and hear the love that's been generated from Mike Piazza the last few weeks, you understand what Met fans, they've longed for a player, a position player to grasp onto like Mike Piazza.
And you know what? They got a class act on and off the field. He's a class act, a terrific individual, and he was a great hitting catch. Again, I want to mention Dino Vitiello and the production crew here at Shea. They put together that tribute on the Diamond Vision board out here at Shea. It gives you goosebumps. I love that they made him go out there 3 times. The fans did. And you're right about the fans, the Met fans.
Barmes from the outfield grass throws out Victor Diaz, leading off the bottom of the 7th. I want to thank also Bob Lawani, who's been a part of our crew all year long and did a lot of the work for the video rolls that we've shown on our show today from Mike Piazza. And of course, our social director, Jim Gallagher, who is peerless in the truck.
All year.
Peerless.
They've done a great job all year, and today, stepping up to the plate once again. Mike Piazza should have 1 more AB.
Anderson Hernandez still trying to get that hit. Bunt.
Eventually he will. There's some great signs out here today also. Doesn't look like an old man, does he?
It's almost like it's Banner Day resurrected. Banner Day, which was one of the great highlights of being a Met fan in the early years of this franchise. Anderson Hernandez bounces out.
Did you ever bring a banner here?
No, never did.
But our colleague Howie Rose did. I think he still brings it. Big crowd today. Fan Appreciation Day, and of course, a send-off for Mike Piazza. If in fact he is leaving the New York Mets.
Jose Offerman now is going to pinch hit for Danny Graves, but the fans here today, I mean, I'm amazed at the number and the devotion they have to this franchise. And obviously there's so much to, as we wrap this season up, there's so much for a Met fan to feel better about, to see young players performing, to see a player like Pedro come here and hopefully set a trend for others, that significant players that want to come and play here. A new stadium on the horizon. And you just hope it all comes to fruition because these fans deserve it.
Yeah, they do.
They absolutely deserve it.
You see Met fans throughout the country, a lot of them traveling at times with the ball club, whether it's to Washington or Philadelphia, Chicago. You see some of them on the West Coast that travel out from this area.
You know, and you see all the young kids who are, of course, we say second generation, maybe some third generation Met fans starting, and I can't help but think, thank goodness for the Dodgers and Giants, because that's the reason Met fans exist. People who were National League Baseball fans, and when this franchise started, they wouldn't even have thought about crossing to the other side. They had to be a National League Baseball fan. Of course, Bill Hodges, who was a Dodger, instrumental in the first success here, was a player on the original Mets. And for those early fans who had Seaver and Koosman to grab onto, and then another generation had Keith and Strawberry and Gooden, and now this generation's kids will always remember Mike Piazza. That'll be their signature Met from this generation.
As you said earlier, he stands shoulder to shoulder with Tom Seaver as far as icons with the Mets organization.
And that's been touching to him. And there you are.
That's a good battery.
That's a great shot. 'Cause that's it. But Mike, I really sense from talking with him, he understands, and he is so deeply appreciative of the way he's been received here throughout his tenure in New York. I mean, here's a guy that's embraced New York. He lives in the city. And knowing how difficult this time is for him, he's taking solace in the fact that he's done what not a lot of athletes have been able to do, which is won almost universal praise from the toughest sports crowds in the country. So the Mets are out of the 7th on Mike Piazza's big day. Well, let's see it, Shea. We're back with you. This might be. This might be a one more ovation, and it may be no more at-bats for Piazza. Ramon Castro looks like he's ready.
Yeah, Ramon Castro will probably come out once Willie Randolph gets through talking to the home plate umpire, Andy Fletcher. He's giving him the changes. I believe he'll tell him that when I go back in the dugout, we're going to send Ramon Castro out to take the place of Mike Piazza.
Nice little drama.
Yeah, I like that.
Willie Randolph giving Mike his due.
They'll wait till the hitter gets in the batter's box, probably.
Moving from second base to shortstop, number 1, Anderson Hernandez. Now playing second base.
Hitter Garrett Atkins. Congratulating Piazza. Nice touch.
Now pitching,
Well, a lot of these kids, as you mentioned earlier, probably grew up watching Mike Piazza catch for the Dodgers and the Mets. He's a national baseball figure and put together some terrific statistics.
Here it comes.
Here it goes right now.
Round, and Mike's gone. He's going right down. There he goes, right downstairs.
What an emotional day for Mike Piazza and Mike's family. This might be like Broadway. He might have to come back out.
Listen to the fans are not letting go.
They better call him back from the runway.
Shingo Takatsu's pitching. Mike DeFelice came in to catch. It's also Gerald Williams in center field. Jose Offerman at second base. And Anderson Hernandez has moved over to short. So Reyes is out, Beltran is out. will pop up here, and that ball will be caught by Gerald Williams. Nice job.
You know what everybody's thinking?
Absolutely.
Mike Cameron and Carlos Beltran. Gerald Williams didn't shy away. He just kept on going. After running into Victor Diaz.
So a nice catch by Williams. Brad Hopp will bat with one away here in the 8th. Things getting a little more interesting in the National League. Michael Barrett hit a 2-run homer in the 5th inning for the Cubs, and they're now within a run. It's 3-2 Houston. As a pop-up there hit by Hopp. And that'll be the 2nd out. Ryan Church hit a home run in Washington. And the Nationals are closed the gap. It's now just 5-3 for Philadelphia. So not quite done yet. Cleveland is down 3-1, playing the bottom of the 7th at home. Needing a win to just at least put a little pressure on the Red Sox. Red Sox are up 2-0 on the Yankees. Ball backhanded. Hernandez lost it and then loses the out. So Gonzalez is safe at first. There's the National League setup right now. So there's your situation. In that Philadelphia game, Jimmy Rollins with 2 hits. He is now a 36-game hit streak, and he'd love to have a chance to play tomorrow in a playoff game. But they need a further rally by the Cubs to force that. In the American League also, there's the American League wild card set up, and one other score there that has some relevance for New York fans. The Angels have come back. They've tied Texas 4-all. So remember, if the Yankees lose today and the Angels win, the Yankees got to fly across the country tomorrow to open up against Anaheim on Tuesday.
And historically, as you know, if you follow baseball, the East Coast teams struggle when they go out west.
The Yankees series is going to start Tuesday night, whether it's here or in Anaheim. Strike to Ardoin after the error charge to Hernandez allowed Gonzalez to reach base. A long season. But in that sight right there is something positive for the Mets, because Jose Reyes ended the season, played 161 games. Didn't start all 160, but played 161, 696 at-bats. The Mets did something this year that they really needed to correct, and that was get guys to play. The biggest failing here in recent years, and this year 4 Mets, 150 games or more, as Mike Jacobs catches the pop-up. We go to the bottom 8 and Shea. So we go to the bottom of the 8th at Shea. Mike Piazza is out of the game, and so, yeah, that's a sentiment that a lot of Met fans have expressed the last month. But he has left. He's out, and so this day that has really focused solely on Mike Piazza now becomes a game that needs to be finished. Jared Williams out on 1 pitch, and obviously as proud as anybody could possibly be today. Any father understands it. Vince Piazza here from Philadelphia, and a short while ago Matt Lockman had a chance to speak with his proud dad.
Well, the thing that I think about so much is the fact that when it appears as though his career has come to an end, but I don't think that's going to occur. I feel as though he's going to play a few more games. But I think back when I was in Vero Beach and I'm walking down, and who sees me? Peter O'Malley. And he says to me, he said, "Hey, Vince, come here, I'd like to talk to you." I said, "What's that, Peter?" He said, "Boy, you have a fine, fine young man." I said, "Gee, thanks, Peter." I said, "I hope next year," and he was at AA, he would get a call up to the major leagues. I said, "Peter, it'd be nice he makes it to the major leagues next year. And he looked at me and he said, do you realize what I'm trying to say to you? You have a fine, fine young man there. If he never makes it to the majors or plays in any all-star game, Vince, he's a great kid. And with that, I started crying. I swear, I could not hold my tears back. I said, geez, what a compliment here. And that's what's important. The fact of whether he ever played a game and what he's accomplished, the essential thing is he is the same now as he was when Mr. O'Malley said to me and gave me that compliment about him.
That's wonderful. That is great to hear. It's actually a real nice little ovation here for Cliff Floyd as he comes back in the dugout after making an out and tosses his batting gloves up in the stands. Fans appreciating Cliff's year, what he's done for this club. Mike DeFelice batting. But I'll tell you, that is what Vince Piazza said there, and he can't say it. It has to be said by others to him, but it's so true. Mike Piazza has conducted himself with such class and dignity during his career that it reflects so well on Vince and his wife.
It really does.
And Vince, when you say that to Vince, he goes, well, I'll give Mom the credit. She's the one.
He does. And that class act right there, that's the truth. And I agree. And Vince has always said it's his mom, and she brought him up. Of course, Vince is probably de-emphasizing his influence, but Mike Piazza has handled himself with class, as we mentioned many times, of course, his ball game on and off the field.
Now Chris Woodward got a hit for David Wright. After the single by DeFelice with 2 outs, and Woodward hits the force play ground ball. So we go to the 9th, final inning of the season coming up at Shea. New York Mets baseball brought to you in part by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's moving forward. And by Heineken, it's all about the beer.
You got Marlon Anderson out there in left field, and now at third base, Chris Woodward. So David Wright is in the clubhouse. He had a terrific season. So did Jose Reyes. He's in the clubhouse, same way. Great season for the left side of that infield.
And now Aaron Cook is going to get a chance to pitch a complete game today. Season finale for the Rockies. And Cook, who had a triple earlier, gets himself a base hit. He's got 2 hits today.
You were talking about big Met fans before, and really the Mets fan base, which is terrific. I want to wish a Met fan, Hector Avila Sr., a happy 72nd birthday. His son works here in the ground crew as Cliff Floyd gives away a bat. How about that?
That's great. He gave some of his stuff away when he came back in the dugout. As Willie took him out of the game.
It'd be funny if it wasn't his bat.
Well, the other thing, this is the final inning of the season, obviously, barring an 8-run ninth. And we need to thank, and I absolutely want to do this, just the people who we work most closely with. Mike Santini, and of course our old friend Kevin Meininger, Bill Webb and John Gallagher, Jim Gallagher and Bob Lawani.
Absolutely.
Charlie Kuchar, Fran O'Connell, who traveled the circuit with us all year long, and as we said, they do all the work. We just sit here and blab for a living. My son keeps telling me that. He says, Dad, you show up, you talk, and you leave. How hard can that be?
It's a pretty good point.
That's exactly right.
Those guys you just mentioned, they do a terrific job all season long. They're out at the. Now you know what the next season coming up right there. How about that?
Maybe he's heading to the Garden right now. It's got an hour and 10 minutes to make face-off. But our crew has just been magnificent. They have an incredible passion for baseball, which is what makes this job fun. And the magnificent pros to work with. Whoever gets them, they win. It's their benefit.
Do a terrific job, I should say.
Takatsu strikes out Sullivan. So 1 away.
So a big day here at Shea Stadium for Mike Piazza. Emotional day. Fans, once again, rising to the occasion. Some great signs all around Shea Stadium.
How about this? How about this? You think that score's been noticed in Washington yet? The Cubs have rallied against Roy Oswalt. 2 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th. Greg Maddux is still in the game. And they've just gone to the bottom of the 6th now. The Cubs leading. The Phillies are leading in the 8th. If the Cubs win and the Phillies win, then there'll be a playoff game tomorrow at 4 p.m. in Philadelphia.
Remember when the Houston Astros played the New York Mets here at Shea? It looked like it was going to be a depressing year for the Houston Astros. And boy, did they rally.
At the beginning of the year, absolutely. There's a hit. Now, Barmes today has showed us a little bit of what he did early in the year. For 3 games, we hadn't seen Barmes, and now he's 3 for 6 with 3 RBIs today.
Bunch of weight on his ball. Keeps his ski right there. Keep your hands back. And just hit the ball where it's pitched. You see that base hit into center field.
Now Todd Helton had a home run in the 7th inning off Graves, his 20th of the year. 79 batted in now for Helton. If there's a here's the American League setup. The White Sox are still leading, and they've just brought El Duque into the game in relief. He's not pitched well lately. Red Sox still with the lead. And the Angels have taken a lead in Texas. Angels are up 5-4 in the 6th. So again, that Yankee, even though the Yankees are in, if they don't win and the Angels do, Yankees have to go to Anaheim to open up. If the Indians lose, Red Sox are in. Or of course the Red Sox win there. So Jacobs with the error that'll load the bases for Colorado. And the Mets kind of wish they'd ended the season last night. It would have been a much better note to finish. This has been a game to forget.
Mike Jacobs wants to forget this here. Not the game, because he has a home run in this game. He has a couple of hits. But he would tell you that he should make that play. And that's the one question mark they're going to have about Mike Jacobs. The only way he's going to be able to answer that question is go out there in winter ball and impress, and then come back in spring training and do it again next year.
Matt Holliday, the batter. Jacobs and Diaz both homered today, but both are in the same boat. They both must be better defensive players in order to really be long term. That's home, should be home to first double play, and it is. Well done there. Takatsu did that perfectly. 1-2-3 double play to send the game to the bottom of the 9th. The final half inning of the Mets season at Shea. The Mets have a pretty good chance to finish 3rd in the division, as Aaron Cook of Colorado tries to throw a complete game here.
How about the attendance final count? 2,829,929, the largest in Shea since 1989. As you look at Howard Johnson.
They put him out at the coach first base here for the last inning. Hojo takes over there.
Hojo is I'll tell you what, he can really play. We talked about it since he came up from the minor leagues. He had every tool you needed to have. The thing that hurt him with that ball club, if anything hurt him, was they had some wild personality. So he was so low-keyed, all he did was produce.
So Mike Jacobs will start at the bottom of the 9th. Aaron Cook trying to throw a complete game here.
Door open in the outfield. You got to close that door. There we go.
There we go.
Cook fake.
Cook threw a complete game September 11th of this year. At home, Coors Field beat Arizona 72, trying to close out his season 7-2. He didn't start his first game of the year until July 30th.
Mike Jacobs is certainly impressed with that bat. He hit us the 11th home run of the season in today's ball game. If I were Mike, I would probably take 1,000 ground balls season, even after winter ball.
Absolutely.
Get it to the point where you're more comfortable as a first baseman than he was as a catcher.
Back through the middle. Cook just missed it. Jacobs will finish 3 for 4. 100 at-bats now, Jacobs for the year. As Aaron Cook's OTP finishing line.
See the 8 innings so far. It's not complete yet. 9 hits, 1 base on ball, 1 strikeout, 100 pitches. But talking about working on your defense, I think that's, you know, if there's something easy to correct, I think it's your defense. If you're dedicated to it, you go out there, take 1,000 ground balls.
Now Diaz and hits one to right field. That'll send Hop back, but he'll have room. And Hop puts it away. 1 down. Jacobs back.
Mike Jacobs can hit on a consistent basis the way he's swinging the bat now. The defense should be a piece of cake. Just go out. You know, he told me as a catcher he didn't throw the ball real well. He said his arm strength was good, but he had trouble at times throwing guys out. So he's looking forward to this change, but he still would like to occasionally get behind the plate.
Now Hernandez, one more chance for this young man. He's 0 for 17. Yeah, be a lot of guys in the dugout pulling for him to get a hit here.
Willie Mays was 0 for 24 before he got his first hit in the big leagues.
Had a terrific minor league year to get this chance to play at the end. And there it is. Base hit. And look at the dugout. They all knew it. That's the biggest ovation other than Piazza from the Met dugout all day is for that hit.
That's great. Howard Johnson loves him as a player. And Hojo said he was pressing for that first hit. Hojo went out to coach, and he got a hit. How
Look at the smile.
that?
Look at the smile on the kid's face. That's a good way to finish.
Watch this. He muscles the ball between first and second. And from what Hojo says, there'll be many more off that kid's bat before he's done.
This is nice to see him smile.
You never see anybody smiling when they're in a slump.
Well, that's good. All right, here's Offerman. And Offerman hits a line drive, and that will end the season. Double play to wrap it up.
Ball's hit hard, but a double play. So the Mets end the season, and the fans here at Shea Stadium, they came out on Fan Appreciation Day to salute Mike Piazza, and what a day it was.
No errors for the Mets. 3 runs, 10 hits, and 2 errors.
The score today seems not even secondary. It seems like it's about the 10th most important thing, doesn't it?
Really
look at this. Here's a nice sight.
Yeah.
Mike Cameron, heard Doug Minkiewicz, whose year here. Doug Minkiewicz, one of the most, I think, underappreciated players in this Mets season.
Yeah.
The results certainly weren't there, but a guy that was a pro and played like a winner and out there to give some things. Minkiewicz running down to give his jersey off. How about that? That's class. Look at that. Even Hernandez getting a chance to sign some autographs before he leaves. So even though the final day wasn't what the Mets hoped, the end of the season very much was. 83-79, the final record. And it looked to be a third-place finish in the National League East. We're back in a moment. Today's game on FSN New York has been presented by Subway. And one more time, listen to this crowd roar again, as they have for 3 hours on this Sunday afternoon as Mike Piazza comes out to join Matt Loeffler.
All right, Ted, thank you very much. And Mike Piazza gets to drink in the applause one more time. A little tribute to the fans who have come out to cheer you on and wish you well. And Mike, it's a very emotional day, I'm sure, for you.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, what can you say? I mean, I'm obviously very, very honored and just excited. I'm exhausted. That was a tough game to catch the last game of the year, but we got through it. And, you know, I didn't really think it would kind of get this type of momentum. You know, I tried, obviously, to keep it low-key, and because you don't know, this game's a funny game, but I'm just happy. And, what can I say? I'm just very, very flattered.
Mike, there's a cheer of Mike Piazza going up from the stands. So what I'm going to do, just one last moment, step aside. I know when I'm the co-star, you're the star. You can give them one last wave. That's what they want, man. That's what they want. And Mike, as they do that, we'll step back in. I know you waved to your family. They're still watching from one of the boxes up in the luxury suite section, and I know they mean so much to you. We heard from your dad telling a wonderful story about his running into Peter O'Malley and talking about what you are as a human being. But what do you think your time here in New York has been about?
Well, I mean, I'm just so proud that, number one, I'm blessed. You know, I'm a man of faith, and I just like to thank God. I mean, it's been a strength of my life and has allowed me to go out and work hard and just do everything I can to try to stay focused and try to you know, just be the best I could be. And, you know, as you saw today with the fans, I mean, they're a huge part of it. I mean, I didn't know what to think coming here, and I can honestly say it's been one of the most amazing experiences I think any man could have. I mean, like I said, I'll look back 20, 30 years from now with and just go, wow, what a ride.
Was it odd coming to the ballpark today, knowing that in all likelihood this was it in the Mets uniform?
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you know, it's funny. I felt, like I said, a little frustrated the game, but you know what? I was like thinking, man, I think the thrill meter's on empty right now. But no, I mean, I did take it all in and just kind of looked around and just ran out there when I was getting loose for the game. And you know, what can you say? I don't know what else to say. I'm drained, man, and you know, I'm out of gas, and I'm looking forward to a little rest and relaxation. But you know, it just shows the character of this city. I mean, it really, the way I've been treated on and off the field. You know, everywhere I go, people have been amazing to me, and I've tried to give a little bit of myself and at the same time stay as focused as I could.
Is the door entirely shut? Are there some communication lines open?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, it's like we're in such a good place. I mean, I'll always be a friend of the organization. I'll always be able to come back here in a good light. And I don't know. I mean, you know, we're kind of caught because, you know, I don't know what direction they want to go in, and we're just in a good spot. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but right now I'm just enjoying the moment, and we'll see. If it's meant to be, it'll be.
But you intend to play?
I absolutely hope so. I mean, I'm a little beat up. You know, I've caught a lot of games, but I still feel like there's a little left. You know, I talked to Eric Karros the other day, and he said, if you're not 1,000% sure, you should try it one more year, because it's like that's what he kind of did. And in his year ensued, he said, you know, he knew he was ready to give it up.
All right, well, Mike, we know you're not your play this year showed that. Thanks for 7+ years of terrific times. Mike Piazza joining us for one last moment down on the field, and we'll let the crowd take it the rest of the way.
I don't think Mike could have been any more truthful. He is exhausted. You can hear it in his voice. And I believe him that he was speaking completely from his heart, as Charlie Samuels, who's been with Mike, as he has been with every Met from the first day they're here, gives him a hug. I believe Mike, speaking from the bottom of his heart, that he just doesn't know what to say. It is so difficult when it's assumed that your time is done, yet you walk out there every day and hear people tell you how much they love you. Yeah. It's a difficult, and you can understand. If you're a human, you understand the conflicting emotions that Mike Piazza has to go through.
It's different for him because he is such a big superstar, and he's been a national baseball figure for so many years. And you know, I'll guarantee you, the competitive spirit is still in Mike Piazza. You know, he's thinking, I can still play. I got some years left. I could still hit, because that's what every athlete feels.
Yep. Well, the game ended too suddenly there. I want to thank two other people that work with us here, hands-on in the booth all year. The incredible John McComb, star of stage and screen, and Sean Field, the budding financial wizard of Wall Street, who has worked with us as our stat man for virtually all our games here at home this year. So I want to make sure we thank them.
I agree. Terrific workers, terrific guys.
All right, our champion, mortgage champion of his career is Mike Piazza today. Find out how you can still get the lowest rates in decades by calling 1-800-CHAMPION today. And he didn't get to 400 this year, but you heard him. He definitely plans to play, and he'll get to 400 next year.
Yeah, he'll get to 400. Look at those numbers. Career numbers, 397. Look at the 45th all-time on the all-time home run list, 7th all-time with 1,530 games at .311 average, 1,223 RBIs. What a career so far for Mike Piazza, who's become extremely popular here in New York.
Well, we've got a post-game report coming ahead with more of, I think, a pretty detailed recap of this game, which ended the 2005 season on a day that belonged to one of the great Mets ever, Mike Piazza.
The place is juiced. The fans are pumped about the arrival of Mike Piazza.
Appreciation Day at Shea became Mike Piazza Appreciation Day, and a story that really overshadowed the game, which was not a memorable game for the Mets, although it certainly doesn't tarnish a good end to the season. A winning year for the Mets, the arrival of young players like Reyes and Wright and maybe Jacobs at the end of the season, Aaron Heilman, etc. All of those good stories that the Mets can take and Met fans can take into the winter and feel good about. But for one afternoon, it was a chance for just about everybody here to, in all likelihood, say farewell and good luck, because he will go on to Mike Piazza.
Absolutely, Ted. Mike Piazza, of course, a long day for Mike Piazza. He went to Mass this morning here at Shea Stadium. And then, after going to Mass, Mike Piazza, of course, dressing for the ball game. And the locker is being ready. They'll pack their stuff after the ball game. Mike Piazza will pack his. There he is coming back from Mass, going into the clubhouse. Then down the runway, maybe for the last time, the home runway to the dugout. It has to be a tremendously emotional day for number 31, Mike Piazza. Seemed like yesterday when he did that, when he joined the team 8 years ago. The signs throughout Shea Stadium for Mike Piazza, and a future Hall of Fame catcher got out there, and the fans appreciated him and thanked him all afternoon, Ted.
Nothing but smiles. And finally, the dramatic removal as the 8th inning began, following a touching video tribute in the middle of the 7th inning that drew 3 curtain calls from Mike Piazza. This is the final greeting as he was removed from the game in the 8th inning. Here are the curtain calls. This was in the 7th inning video tribute. The only thing Mike couldn't do today was get the big hit. 3 at-bats, 3 groundouts, but in the overall scheme of things, that will be rendered irrelevant by what he's achieved in his years as a Met.
It was a special day for Mike Piazza, the fans here at Shea Stadium, and he hates curtain calls, but he did it very well. It's a shy curtain call for Mike.
You could see how touched he was, the emotions glistening in his eyes. And, of course, Mike said he wants a break. He's not going to get a break. He's going to be on television. I believe on Tuesday he'll be covering one of the National League playoff series for ESPN as he kind of tests the waters for a possible future up here in the booth. But overall, Fran, again, the way the Mets finished the season, I think was reflected in the way we saw Willie Randolph smiling a lot last night, a lot today, much more relaxed than the stoic Willie we saw all year long, because this team finished the season in the right way.
It finished the right way, and of course, he was able to smile because he sees the future. And the future, so looking at this season, the future looks bright with David Wright, Jose Reyes, you got Mike Jacobs now with the 11 home runs in the short stay in big leagues. They're hoping Carlos Beltran comes back in a strong fashion next year. Got to be optimistic about Tom Glavine and Pedro Martinez, so I can see why Willie would have a smile on his face, but when the season opens next year, he's not going to smile. He'll be stoic again.
Well, the Mets and their fans, and great fans they are again this year, have a lot to look forward to begin next year. But the best thing the Met fans can see opening day next year is dirt being moved out by Northern Boulevard. That's what they tell me is going to happen. And the reality of a new stadium. And maybe by opening day next year, well, you'll start to see some signs. All right, that does it from up here. We'll hear from Willie Randolph on the 2005 season next.
Back at Shea Stadium, where the Clubhouse Report is brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color. Just for Men Hair Color, more than a hair color, it's the Rejuvenator. Targets only the gray for a natural look. There's the final score of the final game of the 2005 season. Colorado defeats the Mets by a score of 11-3. That's about the only negative on this day for the Mets, who celebrated Mike Piazza's 7+ years in a Mets uniform. During the course of the game, a tribute to him up on the video screen here. And throughout the course of our broadcast, we brought you some of the highlights of Mike's career, the wonderful years he spent with the New York Mets. And now we move on and await to see what will happen to Mike Piazza. Perhaps, as he said in the postgame, since there is communication open, it'll be here, but more than likely it will be somewhere else that his career continues. In his final post-game news conference, Willie Randolph clearly had to address the subject of Mike Piazza, what he's meant to the Mets, what he's meant to the game. Here's what the Mets skipper had to say.
Well, yeah, there was some emotion. I mean, the guys anticipated it, obviously. I mean, they knew this was his day, and so, it wasn't like anybody was surprised. It was just that, we were happy for him. And it was nice to see everyone show their affection for Mike, in the clubhouse and in the dugout, and the fans were just tremendous. So, I was on, on the top step there, so I can't tell you totally what guys were feeling, what they were thinking, but, they obviously showed their affection by hugs and the fact that they, feel good about the fact that he was able to get that type of recognition today.
Why did you pull Mike when you did not?
Because I don't think he was going to play the whole game. It was a blowout game, and we wanted to give him 2 or 3 at-bats, and I just wanted him to be able to walk off the field and get his recognition. We had an understanding of that going into the game, so he understood that I was going to take him out that time. We all knew that.
You had an understanding before the game, really, because you wanted him to get one more ovation, or what did you guys kind of figure out before the game?
If we had a chance to win the game, he would stay in the ball game, but I wanted him to be able just to get some at-bats and play the game and let the people show their affection for him. And then once the game pretty much got out of hand, I just felt like he probably wasn't into it as much. You have to understand that being a player. And so that's why we took him out, but we had talked about how we would use him this year and how we would do that today. And that's how we went to do it. Was there, well, whatever. Okay.
And so the Mets begin their off-season work getting ready for next season. It was back in 1980 that Sports Channel, and then its successor FSN New York, and then ultimately our sister station MSG Network had the opportunity to present Mets baseball to you, the fans. Well, next year the Mets do embark on their own network. We wish them the very best of luck in that endeavor. But for all these years, it's been a terrific pleasure for us to come into your homes and we hope somewhat into your hearts, presenting Mets baseball night and day here at Shea and on the road. So for our entire crew, our producer Mike Santini, producers in the past like Kevin Meininger and Steve Dans, our director Bill Webb, John Gallagher, all of those who have made this experience so wonderful, we thank you for allowing us to be a part of your lives. And now the Mets move on. The rebuilding begins. They look forward to an exciting 2006 and beyond. The cornerstone has been laid. The young guys are doing their job, and the Mets will build for a brighter future. There's the final score for the final time on our final postgame for 2005. On a day that Mike Piazza was honored for his contributions to the Mets, here's a recap of Mike Piazza's day.
Summer has come and passed. The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends. Like my father's come to pass. 7 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September